Well, I think we've already started anyway. I'm looking at the. We don't need to do an intro and stuff, do we?
I love that. Yeah, just don't do an intro. Just like cut in. It's like someone walks into our room. It's like, oh, so what's up, guys? We're in the middle of a conversation.
That is how my favorite podcast always starts. I talked about Hello Internet, and they just start having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like it better that way. I have done podcasts in the past where we've done an intro and all that stuff. Like we go from this point where we're just chatting to now we're doing a podcast, and it always feels like I don't enjoy it as much as the just chatting bit.
I think it creates a different vibe, right?
Yeah, because as soon as you say, right, now we are in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how's life anyway? I never ask you about how work's going and stuff. Are you doing okay?
But yeah, no, not much. I've been, just work. I've been binge watching Legion.
Oh, which one is Legion?
It's a X-Men show. And Legion is like the son of Professor Xavier. And he is like schizophrenic and has abilities, super powerful abilities. And so the entire show is super whack because it deals with that like mental illness part as well.
Is that Netflix by any chance?
No, unfortunately not. It's I think FX is the channel, whatever that is. I just bought it on iTunes because I was like, I want to watch this. I can't find it anywhere, so I'll just buy it there. Season 1 and season 2 started yesterday, which is awesome.
That looks really good. I've been really underwhelmed by the Marvel offerings, like the Marvel TV, as opposed to the Marvel movies.
I like it.
I tried to get into the one I liked at the start was Iron Fist, and then I thought that tailed off a little bit.
Oh well, that's the worst to start with.
Well, I tried Jessica Jones, but I couldn't get into that.
I love Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones is probably my favorite, at least the first season. Iron Fist is the worst. Like I hated that show. That guy was whiny the whole time. The story made no sense. It was just awful. All the other shows I thought were pretty good, like Punisher, Daredevil.
I'm wrong. Punisher, I really thought was great.
Oh well, there you go. At least there's one.
For some reason, I lumped them. I'm lumping them together all as what do they call them? The Defenders.
Defenders. Yeah.
I'm not too keen on any of those, but I thought Punisher was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Defenders was alright. Again, Iron Fist just kind of ruined Defenders for me.
Yeah.
He's whiny all the freaking time, and it's like, I'm gonna do it on my own. And then he messes up everything.
What a div. He's always trying to do it on his own. That's all he says at the end of every meeting. I'll just do it on my own.
I'll do it. I don't want to get anyone hurt. Only I can do it. I'm the Iron Fist. Oh, man.
It's kind of a lame power as well. It's not, all right, a really powerful fist, but it's kind of like only a fist is powerful, so you're like otherwise really vulnerable to everything. But you can just do a really powerful punch.
And he rarely uses it too. Like he always has to like charge it up or something, right? So there's rarely any time where he really powers it up and uses it. And then there's Luke Cage, who can pretty much maybe do the same all the time. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird.
He's the indestructible man, isn't he? Luke Cage?
Yeah.
You can't kill him.
Luke Cage, yeah. Correct, yeah. And just bullets, just bounce off of him.
How come he's considered one of the lower tier superheroes then? Because that seems pretty extreme. I thought these were like the superheroes that are a bit crap, not good enough to be in the movies. Like there's power levels. Like the TV is the lowest power level.
Right.
Then you have the movies, like Iron Man, Spider-Man, and then you have like Thanos and like the god superheroes.
Sure, yeah.
If he can't be killed or hurt by anything, that sounds pretty extreme to me.
Yeah, but maybe also somewhat boring, perhaps. Not sure. Like for me, like for example, Superman, like as an DC, maybe opposite sort of. Superman was always super boring to me. Like that, he's like my least favorite from all of them because he's just like I can do everything.
He kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the Justice League stuff. It's like. The solution is always to get Superman.
Oh man,
we just need Superman.
I hated that. I hated that so much in the movie too. Yeah, you seen that latest like that Justice League movie?
Yeah. That's the whole plot, you know. It's like,
Yeah, but it's like you have all these cool superheroes, and they, at the end, well, spoilers maybe, but at the end, they all fight, the bad guy together. And I was kind of hoping, some cool dynamic between, there was a little bit of like people throwing this person's weapon at this person and just like, bouncing off of each other, just combining the powers a little bit. And then it's like, oh, we all suck. Oh, there's Superman. He's going to do it.
yeah.
It's like, okay, well, why even bother with the others if Superman can just do it? Just make it a Superman movie, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know because they've really foregrounded that with the plot of that one. It was always there.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, we've set the precedent that basically it's always Superman. So they can't keep having Superman. Well, Superman's off some ways, visiting his long lost aunt and uncle who survived Krypton's destruction. He's not here to help us. Oh no, we've got to do it ourselves. And then in the last 15 minutes, oh, Superman, he's back.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. Just give the other people are so strong. They have so many abilities and like smart and whatever. But nope, has to be Superman apparently.
Yeah. Did you see the mid credit or post credits scene where I think it is, where he's racing the Flash?
Yes.
They have like a funny race at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And basically,
yeah, that was kind of nice. But,
it was nice, but it was basically like, well, so you've just kind of like, if the Flash is just, so let's say the Flash is a little bit faster than Superman. It's like, it's just making him really lame. You're just, well, what's your superpower? I'm like 0.0 of a second faster than Superman. Well, what use are you then? Superman's that fast.
Yeah. That would be silly though. Yeah, I hope, I mean, we didn't get to see it, but I would hope that the Flash would be a lot faster than Superman.
Yeah.
Because, you can time travel and stuff when he runs really fast, so you would assume...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know he could do that, because I've never particularly been into DC and stuff, so I didn't know he could, like, break the time barrier or whatever.
Yeah, he breaks that a lot and screws up everything. There's this, the famous thing called Flashpoint, where he travels back in time to save his mother from being murdered and just messes up the entire timeline.
All right.
Which apparently is going to be the plot point for the upcoming Flash movie with that guy.
Oh, they're doing an independent one, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing one for Flash and for Aquaman.
If I was still 12 now, I would just love this, because I remember thinking back when I was a kid to, like, you're probably too young to remember some of this shit, but there was a Hulk TV show.
Yeah.
Where it was just a guy, like a bodybuilder in an orange wig, and like there was Spider-Man and he was climbing up a wall, but it was basically they just flipped the screen 90 degrees, so he's climbing along on the floor.
Yeah. Well, even the old Batman was like hilarious.
Yeah. And I remember I was clever enough as a kid to know this was shit, but you didn't have any better option. And I just thought, one day, wouldn't it be good if there was a really good Superman thing, like superhero thing that was just brilliant? And now we're in the midst of it.
I don't know, like I think there's a bunch of good superheroes. I think Black Panther. Black Panther was really good. Like
Black Panther is just a bear. Black bear.
It's like the Asian version of Wakanda. That one was really good, but again, it was like, all the Marvel ones don't really have a lot of depth, I don't think, or just superheroes in general.
Right.
But that one, I think, was one of the better ones, in my opinion. Whereas, for example, Spider-Man, who's one of my favorite superheroes, the latest Spider-Man movie, I didn't really like that much, because it just felt, I don't know, too over the top again or something, like too grand for being Spider-Man, like too much the same kind of Marvel style of like, huge destruction and I don't know, over the top action.
I like the fact that
I don't know.
He's the bad guy, though. It was kind of just an average Joe who's got a powerful suit, and Spider-Man has to stop him. It wasn't like a world-ending entity or anything. It was just more Spider-Man-y in that sense.
Well, he was still kind of bad guy at this point, I suppose, dealing with all these illegal things. But I do like that too. But then, for example, the before this reboot, the one with the two, what was it, Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah.
There were like two movies with, what is this, Andrew Garfield, I think.
Yeah.
People didn't like those at all. Personally, I think those were the best Spider-Man movies. Like, I like them more than the original three with the guy whose name I forgot.
Oh, jeez. What is his name? Maguire? Tobey Maguire?
Yes, that guy. So I like those more. And in the second one of that, it was like kind of the same thing where the bad guy was just this really nice dude who just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, getting these electric powers, and just being fed up with everyone being mean to him and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked he had some good sort of, I think he was good I didn't like him as Peter Parker, but I liked him as Spider-Man. He was really wisecracky.
Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I don't know, like, in all the fights, he's always wisecracking and stuff. That reminded me of, like, reading the Spider-Man comics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The new guy, they're definitely going for, like, the teenage. He's a real. He looks the youngest, and they're kind of really going for.
Yeah, I feel like he's too young almost.
Yeah, but that might be just because we are used to, like, the Garfields and the Maguires, and Spider-Man in the comics, he was always a teenager, just a kid.
Yeah, I suppose. But even for like a teenager, he looks too young or something. I don't know. But who knows?
Cool. Should we be talking about games, do you think?
Oh yeah, it's a gaming podcast. Didn't we have that issue last time?
I went first last time. Do you want to go first with Sea of Thieves?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been playing Sea of Thieves for, since it came out, and I played a bit before in those beta versions and stress tests they've done. Basically, it's a, like a pirate, I almost want to call it sandbox game. Can talk about that in a bit, but you play as a pirate, and kind of the main goal, I suppose, is to complete missions for these three different factions. There are the Gold Hoarders, the Trading Alliance or something, and the Order of Souls. And they give you like different types of missions. So the Gold Hoarder gives you stuff where you go out into to different islands and dig for treasure and bring it back and sell it to them.
Yeah.
The Order of Souls is like, oh, go hunt this skeleton captain or whatever and bring me back his skull. And then the trading one is like, deliver 3 chickens by the 5th of this month to this island or something. And you have to go out, find chickens, capture them, deliver them.
Chickens? Why chickens? What's the thing with chickens?
Chickens are awesome. Well, there's chickens, pigs, and snakes. So kind of combination of those.
The 3 staple foods of any pirate.
Yes, well, apparently the staple food of pirates is bananas, because that's what you use to heal yourself.
Okay, cool.
You just eat a banana in this full shell and everything.
I've seen some footage of someone doing that, actually. Just standing in front of someone eating a banana.
I don't think that's going to taste very good, but
no.
I'll never try it. Who knows? Maybe it's amazing. Apparently it's very crunchy. But yeah, that's kind of like the main core of the game, and I suppose the problem with that is, and that's the issue that a lot of people have, is that there isn't a lot of content in the game.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, those are kind of the main 3 missions. I personally find that even though it's just those missions, the game is not really about those missions. It's kind of like what happens as you do those missions. And by that I mean, like, you are in this world with up to there's a total of 6 ships on the map, and ships can vary depending on how many crew members are part of a ship. So you can have a ship on your own, like being alone, or you can have a ship with up to 4 players, and you get a bigger ship and stuff too. So there can be like up to 24 people, I suppose, on one of those instances. And you sail across the seas. It's a huge map. There's lots of islands to explore and to find loot on. And once in a while, you come across other players as well that are doing their missions. And that's kind of, I find, like where the game really shines. Just the interaction between those people.
Yeah.
You could engage, you could check out, maybe they have some treasures on their ship. You're a pirate after all, and it's your deal, kind of plundering things. You might be nice and help them out with something, or, just ignore them, or you can talk to them, you can hang out and play your music together, like you have a bunch of instruments. You can drink grog together if you want. Like, there's a lot of, like, shenanigans, I guess, that you can do. Because it's, like I said, it's much more like a sandboxy game. There aren't as many rules. Like, it's like, here are your toys, here's a world, go do your thing, right?
Yeah, I get that.
And everything is very I don't know how to describe it, like physical, I guess. Like, there aren't a lot of UI inventory screens, anything like this. It's all like you controlling your ship. You actually you walk up onto your ship, you go to your wheel to steer it. You have to raise the anchor manually by like pushing the the thing that pulls up the anchor. You have to like lower your sails manually, adjust the angle. It's not like you press like a shortcut on your key to go forward or to speed up or something. You always have to kind of physically go there. If someone hits your ship, you have to go down below deck, take your planks, repair it manually, that kind of stuff. So I think that alone makes it super fun to just, like, I sometimes just play sailing on the sea, just anywhere, doing my little missions. And it just feels really good. Like, I've never experienced something like this in any other game. I think they have a very unique thing going there, a pretty unique platform they can build up on. So now it's just a question of, having them actually add more content, I suppose. But
yeah, the map thing looked interesting to me, an example of something physical. So you don't like, you look at the map, it's a physical map in your hands. You could turn it around and show it to someone there and then. Right. They're not looking at a UI. They're not clicking M to look at an overlay of a map or something. That physical aspect looked really cool.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms I saw was, maybe following up from what you said, like, it's a platform to build upon. Do you think there is, it's reasonable to expect more content to have been there from the start? Or are people kind of like expecting too much at the start? Maybe if it was a $30 game, fine, but it's a $60 full priced release. There should be more here. Do you think that's fair? I
think it's fair, yes. Even though I love the game, I've been having a lot of fun playing it a bunch. I think it is fair. $60 is a lot, and you can get some really complex games out of it. But I feel like it always comes down to just like your personal opinion on things of like, is this worth your time and your money kind of thing? Like, some people spend hundreds of dollars on a weekend to go drink alcohol or something, right? Is it worth it for you to do that, or is it worth it for you to spend $60 on a game that you might have a lot of fun with, right? Like, but yes, in general, I think, yes, for $60 games, there should be more. They have a lot of plans apparently, but they haven't really talked about what exactly they're going to add. So people are still waiting for kind of like a roadmap or something. Maybe they have released this game too early. I don't know what the story is behind there, but I can see why people are skeptical. There is this thing though called Microsoft has this Xbox Game Pass, and it's kind of like a subscription thing where you get games every month for free, in air quotes, because you're paying $10 a month.
Yeah.
For this like Game Pass. And Sea of Thieves is part of that. So you could get that if you wanted to, and like you get a bunch of other games like Gears of War 4 or something, whatever. I'm not sure. There's also like a 14-day trial. So if you just want to check out Sea of Thieves and just try it out, you could get that Game Pass for 2 weeks for free and play the game and then make up your opinion. But yeah, I can totally see why people are complaining about this. And I'm just hoping that Rare is going to, really build up on that because, like I said, I think they have so much good stuff in there and potential. Like this game has a huge potential of like features. There's so many like pirate related things that they could implement, like like bounties and whatever. That I really hope that they're gonna do this. But yeah, I can see the complaints. But personally, I'm just having a ton of fun with it. I maybe if I didn't play the free betas before, I wouldn't have bought it. But I thought it was worth it. It's a very different experience in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of this is to do with perception, and if you look at some of the game trailers from E3 where they showed off footage of people doing things in the game, it kind of raised expectations to the point where it seemed like there was an awful lot more there than there actually was. And maybe if they hadn't promised so much, there wouldn't be such a backlash, when it's not there.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't think they actually promised much more than we've got. And I think that's a big problem with the community right now. There were, like, during the beta too, there were so many posts on Reddit of, like, people just speculating what would be in the game. People were, like, data mining the game, finding assets, like, like a Kraken wheel or something, and then assuming, oh, we get to kill the Kraken, and then we're going to get a new wheel that we can add to our ship, and maybe we can do this and this. And I think a lot of expectations came from just people assuming a lot of things, I find, and like setting their own expectations. There aren't many occasions where Rare was like, yes, we're going to add this, we're going to add this, we're going to add this. And most of the trailers I've seen, all the content I've seen in there is pretty much in the game, with some exceptions of like a couple of costumes that haven't been added yet. There were like some CGI trailers with cats and monkeys inside, so people were speculating, oh, we're gonna get pets, we're gonna have monkeys, we're gonna get rats, monkey, whatever, right? Like parrots. But there hasn't really been a lot of official like confirmation on Rare, so I don't think they have overpromised a lot. Like people call it the next No Man's Sky,
No Man's Sea,
because yeah. No Man's Sea. Nice. But I kind of disagree with that. I don't see a lot from Rare having to actually confirmed anything. It's just a lot of rumors on the community sides, I find. And it still keeps going. People keep making suggestions of like, here's what you should add. Here's how things should be. And people just keep going off like, oh yeah, this is cool. I can't wait for them to implement this, even though they haven't confirmed this. These are all like fan suggestions. So I don't know. At least that's what I've seen. I don't know if there are situations where they confirmed or shown things that haven't been in the game yet, but
they probably didn't.
I haven't really seen much of it.
I think you're right. They probably weren't specific, but the language that they used, I think, kind of led to people speculating. Perhaps. I mean, gamers will always do that when they're looking forward to a game. We just sit around talking about what would be great to be in this game. Yeah. And we always do that, and we will always do it. But I saw some, like I think it was E3 last year or maybe the year before, where the guy was saying, this is the biggest, most ambitious game Rare has ever attempted. And you're kind of like, when you use language like that, it's kind of, you can't really complain then when gamers start to speculate, because you've set the bar pretty high there. And
that is true.
And I understand they have to market it and they have to get people excited. But then when you don't, if you say that and then you don't deliver that, then you're going to get some disappointed people.
For sure. Yeah.
But I take your point as well, well, what does that specifically mean? The biggest, most ambitious game you've ever attempted. Well, there are some things in it that are pretty huge. Like, I mean, when I see the graphics of it and the look of the game looks absolutely amazing. The sea, the waves and the storms off in the distance looks fantastic. So in that sense, maybe technically you could say this is super ambitious. I don't know.
Well, it's also the thing of like like I said, they have this like platform now. It feels like they have a lot of hooks in the game that could, be added onto at a later point. There's a lot of mystery right now in the game of like underwater ruins with weird altar looking things, and it could just be world building. It could be placeholders for future content. Not quite sure. They have said that this is supposed to be a long ongoing project where they keep adding content over time to expand it even further and further and further. It's not like they release it now and this is what it is. They always plan to have it, add stuff later. But again, they haven't really said what they're gonna add, and maybe they shouldn't have used these kind of words with like the release version. Maybe that's the problem with a lot of marketing wording, I suppose, that they overhype things too much.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing these days with the lifespan of games and how games change over time. It used to be a time where you kind of have one shot, you launch, and when it's multiplayer, it's important to get a critical mass of people playing for the gameplay to emerge. I understand that, so your launch is important. But if you look at H1Z1, just as an example of a multiplayer game that was very different when it launched to how it is now, and they keep adding new modes and different ways to play the game. So you don't just get that one shot, one launch anymore. You can games with updates. People come back to check out what's changed in the game. The Division is another example of adding a survival kind of mode where it's another way to play the game. And games like Fortnite that started out as a kind of a PvE fort building game. Yep. Now it's a battle royale. It's the king of battle royale. It's completely different to what. So this could happen with Sea of Thieves, Final Fantasy XIV that had its massive relaunch, and it was garbage initially, and then they relaunched it. So I don't think it's the end for it, but I can understand where like people are like, well, this is not as amazing as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that you're still getting a lot out of it, and there is stuff there.
Yeah. And, it's people have to decide if that's worth it. $60, it is a lot of money. But, for me personally, I've been having lots of fun. It's something very different. It's fun to just, launch it once for like an hour or so at night, doing some missions, sailing across the seas, maybe, hang out with some people together and doing a couple of missions.
There were a couple of things that were putting me off. The lack of character customization just seemed absurd. Why don't you give me the option to do this? Why have I got, for those who don't know, you basically, all you can do is just click the random button and it randomly generates a different pirate.
Yeah.
So you have the system to customize the characters, but you're not going to give it to the players. That just annoyed the hell out of me. Just as a concept, I don't know what's going on there, and I don't want to shit on. I don't want to be one of those people who shits on games that other people are enjoying. But maybe it's interesting just to say like why I haven't jumped in. These little niggling things that are not. No, they're kind of, they are and they aren't a big deal. Like, I don't.
Well, they can add up, right?
Yeah, like I'm not. And what am I? What's my goal? Where am I progressing to? Kind of thing. Well, because what you can get different outfits and different cosmetic stuff. Well, I don't know what my goal.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
There.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's problems too, that there is no actual progression. It's kind of like a sideways progression, I think is what you call it, where you change the look of things, but you don't get upgrades to things. Now, I kind of like that because, it is a very PvP-focused game. And I personally rarely play PvP games. Like, I'm not super into this. This one seems a bit different, and part of it for me is... why I feel like different about it is because everyone has the same weapons, the same kind of strengths, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's all like skill based, right? Like, the person has the same weapons as you and you have the same weapons as them. It just comes down to you using them better than they do, I suppose, or something like this. But I guess, it might not be enough for people to really keep playing if there's no actual progression. The only like real goal, I suppose, is to become a pirate legend, which is like you have to max out the reputation of all of these three factions, and then you get access to this like legendary pirate cave with different type of missions. The first legendary pirate, or the first person to reach legendary status just happened like a couple of days ago, I think.
Oh, right.
And it's still a bit underwhelming. You only really get, I think, 2 new outfits, and the missions you get from the legendary Pirate Cove are kind of just like, it's like a mix of all the other 3 missions together. So it's not a huge deal either, but
I remember reading stuff about MMO development and the kind of the choices you have to make in terms of how much time do you spend creating content for like the 5% of people who are going to get to that end game, so how complicated and how in-depth can you expect that to be really if say such a small percentage of your player base is going to actually experience it? Does it make sense to spend a lot of time developing that?
That's a good point, yeah.
So I don't know how much you would expect from that kind of end game. It's like the end game, like the most difficult raids in WoW or whatever.
Yeah, well, Wildstar had that as a big problem. Wildstar was a really good MMO that I liked it a lot, but it was very hardcore player focused, where a lot of the stuff is just focused on raids. And they just didn't, because of that, they didn't get the amount of players playing this game, because, most people don't reach this kind of content. And that's why it's kind of like dying out, I suppose.
Wouldn't it be really funny if like the reason that the majority of Sea of Thieves seems so empty is because it's all in the legendary cave and they've spent all that time developing all of that. The rest of the game seems really empty. It's like, you have to get there. It's all the content is in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, people did that. Like on Reddit, people are like, "Oh, I bet you once you get legendary pirate, that's when the game starts. That's when you get all this cool access. You get like a ghost ship and a ghost crew, and like just people making up shit that has never been confirmed." But yeah, unfortunately not. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, there isn't too much more content in there. But again, I think if someone ever has interest in a game, I think the easiest thing to do is just get that Game Pass for 2 weeks. For free, try it out. Maybe after those 2 weeks you're like done. Maybe you had a good time, and then you're like, okay, I'm done with this because it's repetitive or whatever. But
I mean, I wonder if they'd kind of not sold it as a $60 game, just used it as a kind of a way to get people to sign up for the Game Pass, and then it's kind of
well, that's kind of the theory as well, that the reason why it's so expensive is because Microsoft wants to push the Game Pass and get people to like say, oh, this is too expensive, I'd rather get the Game Pass to try out the game. And maybe also that's why the game just came out, being pushed a bit too early, just so they can push the Game Pass a little bit more. That's always the thing to consider too, is that Rare is the developer, Microsoft is the publisher. Publishers often make decisions that are very anti game, or that goes against the game, I suppose, the game developers' opinions of like, how do we make the most money out of this product right now versus how can we make a fun product. That's always something to consider, that Rare, it's not always in Rare's, Rare being the developer in this case, Rare's hands. It's often that the publisher will decide on a lot of things, unfortunately.
Oh, well, I am glad you're enjoying it. And like I say, I never want to be one of those people who, because it's happened to me on many occasions where you're really enjoying a game and you go to see other people talking about the game and it's all negativity, and you're like, well, I'm really enjoying it, so screw you people.
Yeah. I think, so you've been playing Far Cry 5, huh?
I have been playing Far Cry 5, and I want to do a better job of trying to tell people what the game is than I did last time with Kingdom Come Deliverance, because I always feel like you do a really good job of assessing and giving a good summation of the game that you've been playing.
Oh, I feel like I ramble way too much about these things.
All right, well, I'm going to attempt it. Let me use my brain here. What is Far Cry 5? The Far Cry series is an open world sandbox game in which you are a guy with a gun, generally, and you go around kind of you follow the plot of whatever the game is. There is a central story, but the key premise of a Far Cry game is that it's very open. There are lots of little points of interest and organic kind of encounters that emerge, this idea of emergent gameplay. And it's been a series that's been going on for quite a while, and it's a series that it's a little bit long in the tooth. And it's something that I've never got into. I never really particularly liked the setting of the Far Cry games. They've been up to this most recent game, Far Cry 5, set in a kind of a almost like a tropical or island environment, quite a heightened, I would say, a heightened reality. So you're in some kind of dictator's island, and you have free roam to go all over the island, but it almost seemed like island adventure. You're off on an island adventure, and there are tigers and there are alligators, and it all seemed a little bit far-fetched. And this latest one is far-fetched. But the biggest change in this one for me was that this time it's set in America, and a more, in quotes, realistic setting to start off. So I think is it Montana? God, no, I don't think it is. But
sure.
It's kind of open country in America, like farmland, hillbilly kind of place. That stereotypical idea of like redneck country. But the twist in this story is that it's kind of a religious cult that's spreading its message, ostensibly a Christian message, but really just kind of has that cult essence to it, so that they're really out for their own agenda and to just power, money, influence, whatever it is. They just want to. So it's not really a Christian thing. It's more, this is what a cult does, indoctrinates people and tries to suck people in. And if you don't believe in in our message, we're going to force it on you, kind of thing. So I was attracted to Far Cry 5 for the setting and for the story. And so far, I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm getting the sense of what Far Cry is straight away. That idea that you're dropped into this story, this world is very open, and you're immediately jumping from place to place. There are, point of interest to point of interest. Probably like 85% of the game is you kind of wandering and stumbling across, say, a group of people. They're persecuting someone, or they're going to shoot them in the head, and you have to react and figure out how you're going to save that person. Or you see a truck that's driving by and it's obviously supplying the cult with something. Do you shoot the tires out, take over the truck and drive it off the edge of a bridge? You could do so many different things. It's kind of a living world, that open world idea of stuff is going on and you kind of stumble across it. And then in the process of doing that, the story is kind of going along. You do the side missions and the kind of the story missions. You could follow the story very religiously, no pun intended, and stick to it very closely. But I think the idea is that the story kind of, you dip in and out, you weave in and out of it as you're doing other things. Mm-hmm. So I guess in terms of the way it plays, it feels really like a fluid FPS action game. It feels really good. You feel powerful when you pull off some like stealth kills, and you can go big, and you've got a rocket launcher, so you can mix it all together. It just feels really fun to play. And the plot is compelling so far. I'd liked it's obvious the thing that people were expecting, that this was going to be some kind of commentary on, well, it is a commentary on religious fanaticism, but I think people were expecting it to be more political than it is. Something about kind of gun culture, or something to do with the far right, a commentary on different political agendas and extreme NRA stuff. And it's kind of not that. But the kind of story and the characters, they're super heightened, and they are over the top, but they're well acted, and you kind of feel like it definitely gets the idea across. I really hate these people. They're cruel. I want to see them. I want to stop what they're doing because they are so.
You don't feel bad about killing all of them.
No, they are evil. The key it's the key plot is that it's this family that's kind of taken over this whole county, and so you've got they're all siblings basically, and they all own different regions, and and they're trying to spread their message, but it's all that kind of cult idea of really you're just out for yourself. You're not spreading a message. You don't believe in anything. You're kind of just cruel, evil people. So it's not deep in that sense, but I think it's quite compelling, and it makes you hate the bad guys.
That's nice. What like timeline is it set in? Is it like the present day or like a couple of years back? Or?
Yeah, I think it's current. It's supposed to be present day. Yeah, and as I say, I haven't played the previous Far Cry games, so I'm comparing it to something like, say, GTA 5, the open world in GTA 5 Online, for my kind of reference point. So when you would buy this game, I presume, because you like fun gun action gameplay, you like an open world, and you like just very free roaming gameplay. I imagine that's why you go to Far Cry, and does it fulfill that? And definitely there's so much you can do, so many options, like, okay, there's a boat down on the shoreline there. Do I run down to the boat, get in the boat and sail across the lake? Or do I jump in the Ferrari that's over there? Okay, well, I can't because the Ferrari doesn't have a wheel at the moment, but I can repair it if I've got the repair skill. So shall I repair the Ferrari and drive around the lake? Or, and you can do all that. So you can fly in a plane, you can drive in a boat, you can so many options. It's kind of my first experience of doing that. I've done a little bit of it in kind of, PvP FPS in something like Battlefront. You jump in various vehicles and you fight the enemy until one side wins or loses. But I've never had that kind of vehicular combat, and also the ground combat and the gun combat in an open world that's also a story thing. I think I'm trying to think, the closest thing I've played is probably GTA 5 Online, and I think this is better. It's definitely better for a single person. You feel like you've always got something to do, perhaps a little bit too much to do.
Right.
Like on occasion, I've often felt you can't on occasion often feel. You either on occasion or you feel it often. I often feel,
I do that all the time. This combination.
I often feel when I'm playing, like, it would be nice for there to be a little bit less going on. I just want to drive around and look at the scenery. And you can kind of do that in the single player of GTA a little bit more. You could drive around and just listen to the radio in that game. In this game, it's very much like it's action from the minute you start. And even if you just want to walk down this hill, across the road, and through this backyard, someone's backyard, you'll probably come across 2 or 3 enemies, either someone driving by on the road that you have to avoid. It's got maybe a little bit too much for someone who occasionally likes to just wander in games, but you definitely wouldn't get bored in it. So I'm really enjoying it. I kind of, every time I think of it, I want to jump in and just play. And like you were saying with Sea of Thieves, you kind of jump in and it's great for an hour.
Yeah.
You'll immediately be into some kind of story, side mission, some kind of action will be going on, and it doesn't take too long to complete. And then you can continue on, or you just jump out. So it's definitely kind of pick up and play in that sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Is it like, so you said there's a lot of action going on. I think so I've only played Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, and a little bit of 4.
Yeah.
Blood Dragon was amazing, by the way.
Heard good things about that.
yeah, it's so over the top and fun. But usually in these games, you always have like these, enemy territories, right? Like the enemies control this area.
Yeah.
Is there a way in this one too to like kind of cleanse that area from enemies, and then maybe once you have done that, you have a bit more freedom of not encountering a lot of enemies, or is it always like no matter how much you clean it up, I guess, is there always danger in those areas?
It's a good point. I think there's 3 key areas with this family that controls them, and you have to attack each one, and you can choose in what order to do them. So I'm not sure if by taking over those territories you do eventually kind of clean them up. But that's the basic kind of idea. I think you go into these various areas and you get rid of the bad guys, and your guys take over. I've done a few missions like that. So maybe once you do one of those 3 key areas, you can go back there and pretty freely drive around. That would be nice.
Yeah. That's interesting that there are only like 3 key areas or something. Because like in the previous games, it was often like there were like lots of little areas with these towers you have to take over. And then kind of like the Assassin's Creed style where you climb a tower, you scan it, and then you now know this map of this area and you can free this area of the control of those people.
That does happen as well. It does happen as well.
Yeah.
But it's probably not as clearly delineated as it was before. So, for instance, the thing that there are enemy enclaves. I think that what they're called.
Okay.
Let's say enclave for now, but it's basically like an outpost or a stronghold. And you go in there, clear them all out, and then your guys come in and take it over, and then you're in charge of that. So I've just done a mission like that, and my guys are now in there manning that base, that strategic point, but they're still being attacked by the baddies. They keep sending helicopters in and driving up in tanks and trying to take it back. So I don't know if that continues to be the case, and then that only stops once you take up the whole kind of 3rd area, the big sort of area on the map. Yeah. Maybe those attacks stop at that point. But it seems like once you've taken them over, it doesn't immediately mean that's free of danger because they're still being attacked. So,
right.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that pans out.
I heard
that. You were talking about the radio towers. It's just interesting, like they've kind of taken some of that on board, some of the criticism of that repetition of the radio towers. And there's a joke early on where you have to go and take over a kind of a radio tower on the kind of mini tutorial area. And as you climb to the top, the guy says, "Don't worry, I'm not going to make you do this throughout the game. This is kind of you just need to do this once, and it's not like I'm going to send you doing this all over the place." But basically the gameplay loop is the same, but they've taken away the obviousness of it. They give you information in different ways so that it's not always climb up a tower, click the thing, then the area's taken over. They'll be different, kind of like this one you're going into an abandoned museum, or this one is an old kind of, I don't know, police station or something. And you have to do something different to take over the area. It's not like so obvious. And also they give you information in different ways. So you just find little notes around the place or messages on telephones. And so it's coming to you in a more varied way from what I understand compared to the previous games.
That's awesome. That sounds pretty good, yeah. Because like you said, it did get kind of repetitive in these other games. So
yeah,
even if it's like the same, I guess, concept, just having different locations or different ways of achieving them sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and it just leads to some very funny, that buzzword, emergent gameplay. But you know how you decide to do things. Like one incident, like I had to stop a convoy. They're transporting some materials that are important to the bad guys. They're coming up the road, so you've got them on the radar. How are you going to stop them? There are so many different ways you could do this. So I decided I've got some mines up. I'll mine the road. And I went up so I put my mines down. I went up into the trees and I'm kind of waiting for the moment that the truck drives over the mines. So the first in the convoy blocks the rest of the convoy. And it was just this kind of total anticlimax as they just kept driving and missed every single mine. And then I was like, shit, that hasn't worked. So I started firing and managed to take out like the gunner, but then they all hit the gas. So they took off and I just running up the road behind them, like slowly running out of stamina. And I just felt utterly shit.
That's awesome.
Everything went completely wrong.
That's where those type of games shine. These like weird random encounters.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And there are bugs in the game, nothing game breaking, but those kind of weird Skyrim style open world bugs where the AI goes silly. So I've got some footage. I wanted to do a video, but I haven't got enough to put it all together. I'm trying to find some more funny bits and just record when they happen. But there was just this guy in a tunnel, and the AI got confused. It didn't want to go any further forward, so he's just trying to back out of the tunnel and just banging, like trying to do a 3-point turn, but couldn't get out. It was just it was the video was funny.
That's awesome. I always feel like when I see all Skyrim stuff or other videos, like you always encounter these really strange funny moments with NPCs just being super wonky.
Yeah.
I rarely find these moments, and I always hope that something goes wrong in my game because it's so hilarious to see this kind of stuff.
Well, maybe Far Cry 5. I think there's a lot of silly stuff. For some reason, I was trying to shoot a deer. You can do hunting. Apparently, this is a lot better in this one. It's not as tedious. You don't have to grind materials and stuff. You can just sell the hides if you want to for cash. But basically, I was aiming down sights at this deer, and I fired about 3 shots, but it was obviously hitting, but just going through the deer, not hurting it at all.
Oh.
Then the deer vanished completely and appeared slightly down the hill, out of the grass. So its head popped up out of the grass and then went back down again and vanished. So it was like, what the hell? What the hell is going on? But it was hilarious.
Haunted. That's awesome, man. I hope you have that recorded because I would love to see that.
Yeah, I got it recorded. It's really funny. I need to get enough sort of funny moments to make like at least 5-minute video. But I'm going to keep jumping in. I discovered that, like, as we've said before with our channels and stuff, only certain kinds of videos get views. So, like, if I do a playthrough of Far Cry 5, no one's going to play it, but no one's going to watch it. But I could maybe do highlight videos and stuff.
I see, yeah. It's difficult to do these open world games, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great. And it seems like a really cool sandbox, but also a great story for a single player. But it also has some nice multiplayer options that are not too obnoxious. And it seems like you can go online. You can play through the campaign in co-op.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I think they did that in 4 maybe or something.
That's amazing to me. That's what I want in like...
Yeah, that's amazing.
I just want to play through the campaign. Okay, so it doesn't count for the person who joins you. But then you do it for each other, don't you? And you do it in different ways and just enjoy the game in different ways by jumping in and out of each other's games. But also there's an arcade mode. But the point I was trying to make was like this whole idea that everything's got to be online. It's got to be a service. It's got to be persistent. It's got to be open world, multiplayer open world, and there's no desire for single player. This game just proves all of that wrong. It's fantastic. You've got so much content for the single player, and then once you've run through that and you want to jump into multiplayer, you can do that as well. I don't see why so many like... I hate to pick on Sea of Thieves because I know you're enjoying it, but
that's totally fine.
Why can't there be more for just someone on their own in Sea of Thieves?
Yeah.
We've been working on it for so long. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a bit of a shame.
But anyway, that's my opinion of Far Cry 5.
Yeah, I've been avoiding trailers and stuff for Far Cry 5 because I know if I watch a little bit too much, I'm just gonna go and buy it. And I was like, I have too much games to play. I should focus on these. But now that you talked about it, I may have to go get it.
How many $60 games can you play, and how many how many can you afford and how much time do you have? I mean, it's like you've got to make a choice. I remember, like you were saying, Sea of Thieves, and I would have loved to jump into Sea of Thieves, but, you know, I've just bought Far Cry 5, spent $50, $60, yeah. But I want to play Far Cry 5. It's great. You know, I don't...
Sure, yeah.
It's like...
I totally get it.
Yeah. It's just time.
Yeah, that is always an issue with the whole time thing. It's I pretty much work just so I can survive and buy games, and then not play them because I have too many of them.
Well, that's good. I mean, some people just work to, like you say, go and get pissed and drunk in there.
Yeah.
On the weekend, if you do it to play games, why the hell not?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, I think it's mostly for me. It's like I know myself enough that I know that if I get this game, I may not play it right away because there's so many other games I played. And then by the time I may get to the game, it's already been on sale like 5 times. So I could have saved some money there. But
I think...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of craving like a good old Far Cry game again. So may have to pick this up. It sounds pretty good. It sounds like they made a bunch of improvements.
Well, as a first introduction to the series, I wonder how well it's going to do, because this is the first one that's got me in. So I wonder if that will be the case for a new, you know, group of people coming into the game who, for some reason, never played the first ones. And that's a very strange kind of reason not to play them. Just something about the setting and something about the heightened reality of it just was off-putting. But for some reason, this different setting, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it can sometimes be something as simple as that. And then you're introduced to this whole new type of game in a way. I've played Assassin's Creed, and I've played open world sandbox stuff, but I've never played Far Cry, and it's almost a kind of genre in itself.
Yeah, the theme of this game, I guess, the whole like religious cult sort of thing, it's kind of scary to me. Like just I find like these cult things are always kind of freaky in movies and stuff too. Like I find they make good horror movies and stuff as well, where it's just like psychological horror or something, where people are just so devoted to a crazy idea that is crazy to everyone but them. They see it as like, this is how things should be, and it's like very destructive. But it seems like it makes for an interesting story.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen people say, you know, they kind of didn't go far enough with that. Maybe an exploration of extreme political views, or a commentary on a certain religion or whatever. But they kind of, okay, maybe they do play it a little bit safe by not going there. But that assumes that was their intention in the first place, and they pulled back from it. I'm not sure that's the case, really. I think they were always kind of going here, and again, like Sea of Thieves, some of those marketing materials perhaps gave the wrong impression, or people speculated beyond a certain point. They're kind of that this might be about something that it's actually not about. That it's going to be commenting on, you know, that kind of thing, and it isn't really. It's just a bunch of maniacs are murdering people and trying to spread some kind of insane doctrine, and you have to stop them. And it's pretty black and white. They are bad, obviously bad.
Yeah,
there's no question of do they just hold a different political view than me? No, they are just bad people. They're murdering people, so you have to stop them. There's no ambiguity there. And I think people were perhaps looking for something a little bit more nuanced. But I don't really go to games for political commentary, so that doesn't upset me that there's not some kind of strong political agenda going on in the game. I don't really care about that.
That makes sense.
You know, it's a fun game.
Cool.
So I just had a Kingdom Come Deliverance update, because we said
sure
we might return to that at some point, where I think it was in the context of, is there enough content in the game, and does it stop too abruptly? We were talking about the story perhaps stopping.
Yeah.
unfinished. Well, I haven't got to that point yet, but I have got to the point in the game where I'm starting to kind of reassess what type of game it is. The theme this episode seems to be expectation as opposed to reality.
Yeah.
This episode of the podcast, and I wonder if that's the case here with Kingdom Come Deliverance as well, in that it marketed itself very much as an open world sandbox, and I'm being told by people who've watched my videos and commented that I need to keep going, and it opens up, it will open up, but I'm 9 hours into the game, and I don't think I've been dawdling, and I am still following the main quest line, because that seems to be the thing that the game wants you to do. It's not, I think, an open world sandbox game. Compare it to something like Far Cry. Within the first hour, I was kind of open. The game was incentivizing me to wander. It was saying, go wherever the hell you like.
Yeah.
This is the game. Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't do that. It definitely wants you to follow the main quest line. And like I say, 9 hours in, you would expect an open world game to not be doing that quite so much. So it's interesting. I'm just reassessing what this game is. I think it is more of a story, a linear storyline than I was given to believe. That could be my mistake. But it's good in that sense. And you can go off and do little things. But for instance, I got to a new town. After the obvious tutorial bit had happened, the opening story had played itself out, it got to an obvious resolution where you felt like, right, that's the beginning of the game over now. You're dropped into a larger town, then you're thinking like, right, this is the point at which I wander and I go and do different things. But I was wandering around and I thought, right, I'm getting tired. I need to find an inn to sleep in. So I was visiting every single tavern, trying to think, well, how do I hire a room? Because you can't sleep in beds that you do not own. You'll be arrested.
Right.
But my assumption was that, well, find an inn or a tavern, you can rent a room, obviously. You can't do that. You're still within the kind of the linear narrative of the game. You have to go back to the miller's house where you're kind of brought for reasons that would be spoilery. But there is basically one place that is your bed at that point. You can't hire a room in this anywhere else. So I thought, at that point, okay, so I'm still within the story. I still have to follow the story. I can't wander. And that's fine. But I was kind of getting mixed messages, this seems really open, but then I can't hire a room at the inn.
That seems odd. Yeah.
Can't sleep anywhere other than this one place that I have to go back to. It's weird. Is it a story? Is it a story game or is it an open world sandbox? I don't. Yeah. Maybe it's a bit of both, and it's not quite sure what it is.
Maybe it doesn't know itself. Like maybe it's like an identity crisis. You know.
Yeah, I wonder.
Like it's trying to be this and this.
I don't want to say, just pure speculation, but I just wonder if building an open world sandbox game is possibly one of the hardest things you can do as a developer of games. I imagine they take a huge amount of resources. They're a massive undertaking. If you're an indie developer, this game costs 30-40 million, I think, which is big for an indie game.
Jeez, yeah.
But still, it's not as big as probably what was involved with Far Cry 5, which is a AAA title. It's still a small amount. There is a limit to what you can do with 30 or 40 million. You can't do something on the scale of Far Cry. And I wonder if that happened with Kingdom Come Deliverance, where they set out to make an open world sandbox and then they realized we can't actually do that with the resources we've got. So let's put a really strong story in with good voice acting, because it is good voice acting, it's good storytelling. And maybe the open world isn't as fleshed out as we'd like it to be, but at least there's these strong characters and there's a story at the center of it, so people feel like they're it's finished in some sense in terms of the narrative. But yeah, it's weird. It's an odd sort of mix at the moment. You know what? Next time I get...
It's a bit of a shame, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it is a shame. I think it's just me. maybe the messaging on it is slightly wrong, and you go in, and I went into it with the wrong expectations. I was expecting something Far Cry-esque, just drop you into medieval sandbox.
Yeah.
And it's not that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I meant. Like, it's a shame maybe that, you kind of came in with that expectations and it just isn't that, maybe.
But it could still open up. I mean, I heard that, I've heard people talk about the series of Japanese Persona, the Persona games. Have you played those? Or?
Yeah.
They were talking about the latest one. That game is very open, but you have to sit through 8 hours of story.
Yeah.
Before it opens up, and some games do that. So I think Kingdom Come might be one of those, and maybe it'll open up soon. But
I find like the issue with that is though, like if I hear like open world game, I kind of expect to, I guess I kind of expect to just go, be able to roam around pretty early on. Like even in Skyrim, the intro they have, I find, is pretty tedious because there's no good way to skip it other than using mods. Like, and it's just, you sit in a cart for like 15 minutes or so, which is pretty boring if you want to replay the game. Like when it comes to replayability, you have to kind of like get through that again. And like same with like something like, then Kingdom Come Deliverance or something. If you want to ever replay this, you have to get through this like 9+ hours single player or linear story content first before it opens up. Seems a bit strange to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I wonder if replay value in this game will be lessened because of that. It's just, you're right. That particularly the cart bit at the beginning of Skyrim is ridiculous. You have to watch. Basically, you can't move. You just have to watch this story play out again. But maybe that tutorial takes half an hour. You have to get through that.
Yeah.
It's a scripted event, then a brief dungeon with a couple of spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game opens up half an hour. As compared to the 8 or 9 hours that I've had to play through Kingdom Come, and I still don't feel like I've got full agency within the game to do exactly what I want. There's a big difference there, I feel.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, any other games or anything YouTube related you wanted to talk about? I don't know if I can bear to jump into this EA thing and the Star Wars thing. It seems too depressing.
Yeah. Well, we can skip it. I mean, we've been like what, 1.5 hours already. So
maybe we should not talk about anything else in depth, because it will be like a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, that seems pretty long.
All right, folks. So if you want to follow us, at Twitter for the podcast is at P2J Podcast. You can tweet us there. If you would like to email us, you can email us at player2joined@gmail.com. That's player2, the word 2, joined @gmail.com. And do you want to do any personal Twitter or tell people about your channel?
No, I guess it's fine. Like we did it in the first episode. I think most of the information is going to be in the description somewhere, right? So
yeah. So have a look down.
I feel weird plugging my own channel all the time. So it's fine.
No, that's fair enough. It's pretty obvious anyway, isn't it? Serious Creeper if you want to find Serious Creeper, and Napyet if you want to find Napyet.
Yeah.
All right, dudes. Let's go and play more games, and then next month we can talk about those.
And hopefully Legion, if you get to watch it.
I must watch.
You have to watch
Legion.
it. Do it.